We have two wonderful gentlemen joining us to review the final and of course talk about the AFCON in proper. First, a Moroccan journalist who is based in London, Zakaria Anani, joins us this afternoon. Zakaria, thank you very much for joining and good to have you here.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
All right, joining us also is a sports journalist based in Gambia, Fode Mane. Fode Mane, good to have you back. Welcome to the show.
Always a pleasure.
All right, let me come to Zakaria now. Zakaria, it must be a disappointing one for Morocco and also maybe for you who have seen how Morocco came to the final. How would you assess the final we saw on Sunday and Morocco's overall performance, especially given their tactical discipline over 90 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a shame is the thing that I'd say. Over the whole tournament, we saw a lot of exciting moments, a lot of good football, and it's honestly a real shame. I think we can all agree, if we disagree on the minor points, that, you know, it doesn't look good for the tournament to have it finished this way. It won't be remembered for all the good moments, unfortunately. It will be remembered for that 15 minutes of controversy, calamity, chaos, whatever you want to call it. It is a shame. But no, Morocco over the tournament, I think we showed that we can transition. We're a team in transition. We've had no Romain Saïs, no Rabat, Boufal, Ziyech, Unai got injured, and Nesiri on the bench. It's a big change. So to get to the final, I think we performed well. Yeah, I think we can be proud of it.
All right, Fode Mane, for Senegal, they have been to the final before now. The last time was in 2021, where they won that trophy, the first trophy they've won at that time until, you know, on Sunday. Going into the final, there were lots of talks, I mean, from Senegal's camp, talks of talking about insecurity, how they were not, where they trained before the game. It was not, they didn't, want that particular one. They even wrote to CAF and talked about a lot of things. And we saw, yesterday's game, different kind of reactions from the Senegalese. At some point in time, we saw clips of antics from, from some players of the Moroccans, trying to get a towel and likes. But what do you make of the final? I mean, the final that had drama, that had VAR review, and also players staging a walkout. What do you make of it? Fode? All right, so we hope to have Fode back. Well, let me come to the studio now. Damiloju, the question I asked Fode, I mean, the final that had series of tensions build up to the game. Yeah. Senegalese talked about ticketing, that they didn't get, much access to tickets, insecurity, where they were based or where they were camped. Lots of things, the build up to what we saw started before the game. What do you make of all this?
The first thing I'm going to say is, as people who have covered CAF competitions before, we know that this is not the first time that we're hearing of certain antics that happen when you go and play in North Africa. And I'm not justifying anything that Morocco has done or what Senegal are complaining about. It was very, very disheartening to see that communique from Senegal to CAF and all the things that they alleged and they complained about. Now looking at the game itself, already that means that Senegal were on the defensive, and Senegal already felt like their backs were against the wall and they were fighting against it. Felt like they were fighting against the 11 players, the officials, the fans in the stadium and all whatnot. When you look at the game, there were certain calls during the game that felt like when a Senegalese player was punished, if a Moroccan player did something similar, they don't get the punishment. And some things that the Moroccan players got away with, the Senegalese players were not given that lease of life. One particular example that struck out for me is even in the whole melee where they were arguing about whether or not the game was going to continue after that penalty was given, Brahim Diaz was remonstrating with the referee vehemently. He was very, very animated. He didn't get a card. I think some minutes later, a Senegalese player did almost exactly the same thing, and he was carded for it. So Senegal had every reason to feel hard done by certain decisions during the game. For me, not the two most important ones that we'll come to at the end of the game, but some other things around the 90 minutes plus showed that Senegal were really, really hard done by yesterday.
All right. Let me come to Zakaria before we go on the break. Zakaria, I know you probably have seen the videos of, Edouard Mendy's towel being taken away from the goalpost, and so at a point in time, players had to go and man the place to make sure the towel gets to him. Similar thing happened against Nigeria, where Nwabali's towel was also taken twice in the game. Do you think, what do you make of this? Is it, should we call it antics? Do you think it further pushes the game forward? What do you make of this?
No, I mean, as you said, it happened not just once, happened in the game against Nigeria as well. I think it's silly. It's gamesmanship. It's not what we want to see, you know. We have a good enough team to go there and beat teams by playing football. You know, I don't think we need all these distractions, taking the towel. You know, it's not good sportsmanship. It's not what I personally want to see in football, to be honest.
All right, we'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation. We have Zakaria Anani, Damiloju Saliu. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching AFCON Express, and of course, in the game, talking about the Africa Cup of Nations final, we have Zakaria Anani with us. Damiloju Saliu is in the studio, and Fodemade, who will also be joining us shortly. Let's continue from on the conversation. Zakaria, you've talked about what went down in terms of the antics. Let's look at the calls by the referee. Do you think the referee had control of the game? We had two calls. The first, a referee blew the whistle eventually before the goal went into the post, and it was not checked by VAR. It was ruled as a foul in build-up to the goal that Senegal scored. Then minutes later, we saw Morocco's, the defender pulled the player, and then head the ball out, and it was checked by VAR, and the penalty was given. What do you make of these two incidents? Do you think it impacted on what we saw, in the game, and how did that change, the outcome of the game?
Look, there was a lot of pressure going into the game. The referee is under a lot of pressure. Look, you have a stadium full of Moroccan fans in Morocco. For the first incident, I think his main mistake obviously was blowing the whistle. If he lets the goal go in, you can check it with VAR, then make your decision. The issue comes when he blows the whistle early. VAR can't get involved, so the decision's made. The second incident, I think, look, it was a very, very soft penalty. I'm very surprised it was given, but we've seen it given before. Strictly according to the rules, he had a hand on Brahim Diaz's shoulder, and there was a slight pull. You can see that being given. The referee has for control of the game, absolutely not. We saw what happened when the players walked off. I looked at the most recent CAF regulations I could find, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it says that if a team leaves the pitch before the end of play without referee permission, it shall be eliminated and considered loser. I'm not saying that should happen now.
Okay.
But according to the rules of the game, the referee did not abide by those, and he didn't have control of it. Again, it is very difficult in Morocco, in front of all those fans. We saw Diaz, the pressure he was put on the ref, probably should have been booked for that. But very, very difficult situation to analyse, really.
All right, interesting take right there from Zakaria. Let me come to Fode. Fode, welcome back. Zakaria has been talking about the game. I also want to get a share your thoughts about the game, the penalty, the VAR review, the antics, and generally the assessment of the game. All right, Fode, we hope to have you back on the show. But Damiloju, Zakaria made some points.
Very interesting points. Very, very interesting points. And I think Zakaria and I agree on a few things. Where the Senegalese fans can have an issue with the referee is blowing before the ball went into the back of the net. Because like Zakaria said, VAR can no longer get involved. My issue is I've heard a lot of things like Senegal were robbed of a goal. Personally, from what I saw, the call of a foul on, I think it was Hakimi. Was it Hakimi in the box? The goal that Senegal scored, I can't remember off the top of my head now which Moroccan player was fouled. For me, that is a foul. We can say, oh, the players were just in. At the end of the day, it wasn't just a shoulder-to-shoulder thing. I saw an extended arm eventually. Yes, the Moroccan player made a meal out of it. He went on the floor, but we see that in football. You try as much. Once you commentators say it, once you feel a little bit of contact, you fall to the floor like a sack of potatoes. There was a foul in that particular one. Yes, the referee should have allowed the goal be scored, and VAR should have checked it. If I was in the VAR room, even after the goal had been scored, I'm going to chop that off. So as far as I'm concerned, holistically, the decision to not award Senegal that goal, I am on board with it. And of course, the penalty, it is soft. They will say a soft penalty, but it is a penalty. Okay. In the age of VAR, you need to understand that certain level of grappling in the box cannot be done anymore. Fode,
quickly, your reaction on the game that went down yesterday, and what do you make of Senegal's win against Morocco?
Yeah, I'm very...
Okay.
So they have been faced with some issues here, but yeah, found them so much eventful. I think one of the best AFCON finals we've watched over the years in the last 4 editions for me. But again, we also have seen some unfortunate scenes that no one African will want to see as far as African football is concerned. Putting all the joy, putting all the good things that have been said, few minutes of the game.
All right, Fode, maybe another time we'll have a better conversation. But Zakaria, before I let you go, I have a series of questions to ask. Now, on the aspect of Pape Gueye walking out of the press conference, also Morocco not conceding a goal in open places March last year until the final of the AFCON. What does this mean for Morocco going forward? Do you think that Morocco can bounce back from this defeat, knowing fully well that they invested a lot to host, and on paper and from the words on the street from fans is saying that the AFCON has been built to favor Morocco, but he didn't play out like that. How you think that the team would take this defeat going forward?
They have to take it as this sort of a siege mentality. If it has to be that way, the world is against us. I'm not saying that, but if the players have to believe that to come back from it, that's fine by me. We have a World Cup in 5 months' time. Whatever gets you revved up for it. Very difficult group, Scotland and Brazil in that group. We have to come to our next competitive game with this feeling of we want to show the world we can win games of football, Because as much of a controversy that happened yesterday, we should, in theory, have tried to win that game earlier. If we'd have scored a goal earlier on, then those situations wouldn't happen. We have to do what's in our control. We have to come to the World Cup with this sort of, we're gonna not seek revenge, but with that fire inside of us. That has to be the approach. We can't let it eat us up for the next 6 months. We have to have that mentality.
All right, Zakaria, once again, do you share the thought that Morocco, they've been bailing CAF in the last few years? The AFCON in Morocco, it happened last year, it happens again this year. 2 years or 3 years ago, it happened on the 20 tournament, the women's tournament in Morocco. The next few years, it seems Morocco will keep on hosting tournament. Do you think that has put CAF in a tight situation when they host this competition? Because when you look at the last AFCON in Cote d'Ivoire, it was one of the best in terms of officiating. But this tournament has been marred with series of complaints from coaches, from fans, from federations of football in Africa. Do you share the thought that Morocco, more like has a lot, of benefits from CAF?
I think a lot of that comes from the billions of investment that Morocco put into our football infrastructure in the last 10 years. When you have this amount of money going into one country to build stadiums, there's 115,000 stadium being built in Casablanca, then you are going to expect to be given a lot of tournaments. Of course, I think it should be fair. I think if other countries can prove to CAF they have the infrastructure and can host the games effectively, absolutely it should go there. Even if it has to be, like in the next AFCON, a multiple country who host, that's fine. But I think that it's mainly the infrastructure that Morocco have and the money we put into the country's infrastructure for football that is the reason why we are getting so many tournaments.
Zakaria Anani, thank you very much. I enjoyed my conversation with you. I also sure that Miloju also enjoys it. Nodding his head. We hope to have you back again some other time, but we know that Morocco is a destination when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to facilities in Africa. I don't think any country at the moment can pull the kind of facility that Morocco have at the moment. But we're looking forward to more exciting tournaments in the future, and good luck to you. you.